We're here today, very lucky with head coach for the men's and women's team from Bethel University, Drew Fernilius. His teams, since taking over, his women's teams has been consistently regionally ranked for 7 years straight, you said?
For over 6 years and nationally ranked now for the last 3 years.
Yes, and then with the men's team as well, being regionally ranked, consistently making playoffs up there in that tough MIAC conference. So he's doing an awesome job out there, and we're very lucky to have him on to kind of talk a little bit about recruiting as well as what players can do to get recruited.
Excited to be here. You guys are doing some great stuff on the Rise, and love to connect with some of the juniors and help them out in their process of I know starting at a young age is important, and through the grind of 9-10-year-old all the way up to 17, 18 and looking at the thought of playing college and beyond. But I think if I answer your question of what you're looking for, looking into playing college tennis, it's never too easy and never too early to make that a dream and a possibility. College tennis is an absolute blast, whether you decide to play Division I, Division II, or Division III. There's some different levels that you can play at. I would encourage you to set a goal and make it a priority, and talk to people that you might know as far as reaching and accomplishing those goals. As somebody that does a lot of recruiting, I'm looking for people, first of all, that love tennis. I love tennis myself, and those of us that are coaches know what a grind it is to be out on the court and to working. Some days are good days and some days are tough. So if you love tennis and you love the work, that's the first step. Second step is having the talent and the abilities, and Dylan and his group do a great job of helping promote to become better as far as UTR numbers and successes, and so those different things to go. But I'm not sure exactly what you're looking for as far as different things. But so ask me a question, Dylan, kind of what you want to know as far as recruiting and college tennis goes.
Threw this question out to a bunch of players in the program, and one of the main questions I got from our kids was they wanted to know, how do you start the recruiting process? Is it, if let's say there's a player and they kind of want to play at maybe one of these 4 or 5 schools, what's the best way to reach out to a coach? Email, call, or what?
That's a great question. I first of all, do your research on your school. That's a good place to start. Find a school and look for a school where you can play. I don't think there's anything more frustrating than going to a program where you don't get the opportunity to play. So find a program where you can make a difference. We look for players at Bethel that love tennis. And I always say, reach out to me. As much as I'm recruiting players, I tell them that they are just as responsible for being recruited in the process. And you can start that as early as 9th or 10th grade and say, hey, I've made an eye of your program. It's something might be a dream for me. Keep in contact with me. And I do that all the time. As you begin to get to the end of your sophomore year, that at that point in time become a little bit more serious if you're looking at playing at college tennis. But again, you can never contact too much. Get out and watch college tennis, I think, would be another really, really good thing, because when you come out and you watch us play, you see the level of play. But more than that, you see the way the teams interact, and you can actually get a sense of where you can see, do I see myself a part of that community? Do I see myself as being a fit in that program as far as the culture goes? Because even though tennis is an individual sport, the really, really neat thing about college tennis is it's a team sport, and there's so much camaraderie that goes on within the team, both on and off the court. So choosing a school where you see yourself fit is a big, big deal. And get in contact with the coach, text, call, email, leave messages, send videos. That's another big thing. Make a college video. And you can email that video, you can text that video, and you can ask for improvement, and you can ask for advice. I love it when recruits are reaching out to me and say, hey, what do I need to do to improve? Would I be good enough? It's a great question to ask. Would I be good enough to be on your team? And would I be good enough to be a starter on your team? And if you're asking those questions and being proactive and finding those answers, you have a much better chancing of finding a program where you're going to be successful and you're going to have a blast.
That was awesome answer. And you kind of touched on what my next question was going to be. I know I've always have players. I know I've shot a couple college recruiting videos now. I was going to ask is, Are those helpful? And maybe if someone is trying to do a college recruiting video, what are some things that you think would be great for them to have in there, like point play or drills, cross courts, or whatever?
The first thing that I would say is hit with somebody that's probably at a higher skill level than you. If you're going to make a video, coaches are looking for you to play to understand what level you are at. So if you're doing ball feedings, have somebody feed the ball hard to you, so you're not just tapping it back. But even more than that, coaches like to see match play. If you're a guy that's a 9.2 UTR and you can send me a video and, hey, coach, I'm playing somebody that's a 9.5 UTR and I can see your level of play back and forth, it's going to make a difference of being able to see where you can play and where you can fit. And then also, if you're asking for that coach for some feedback from area to improve, all those things will help out a ton.
You would rather see maybe like a match play unedited sent over versus the typical college recruiting video where they cut out all the misses and they have all the drills and stuff like that?
Absolutely. I would love to see. That's what I like to see the most. I like to see unedited match play. It doesn't have to be a whole match. It can be as short as 4 games, two service games for you and 2 service games for the other. I'm not going to sit down and watch if you had a 7-5 in the third, grind it out match. I'm not going to sit down and watch that, but I am going to see quality point play in construction. Are you constructing points? Are you competing? How do you compete when you're down 15-40? And what do you do to finish a game when you're up 40-30? All those things are a difference and that you can only see during a match play. And that's why as a coach that's recruiting, I was out at a high school match this afternoon, Dylan, and I like to see how kids compete in play. And that's a big part of the recruiting process too, of telling the coach, hey, I'm interested in your school, and hopefully if you find a good coach, they're going to come out and see you play in person if it's possible. Obviously, I can't fly down. I've got a kid on my team from Kansas. I didn't make it down to Topeka to watch him play a bunch of matches. So I'm kind of reliant upon video in those kind of cases.
Yeah, I know I bump into you all the time out at USTA tournaments or high school matches all the time. So yeah, that watching kids play is such an important part. We touched a little bit on there about UTR level. I know that's kind of a newer ranking system that's come into college tennis, maybe last 4 or 5 years. How important is that to college recruiting as a player or as a coach?
I would say it's very important initially, Dylan, because it kind of gives you, are you good enough to be on the team and are you potentially good enough to be a starter? But I hope that the only thing I don't like it is that sometimes students think that it's the end all of what my number is. And there are definitely ways to manipulate your UTR, and I don't care about that. COVID is definitely affected UTRs. So the last 18 months has been affected by that a lot, but it is a great tool. I love it. It's a great tool. It's a motivational tool. I love how juniors are motivated that I want to improve and I want to raise my UTR. It's a great thing. Don't be afraid, but at the same time, players at all levels, because that's how you get better. And if you're so focused on the number and you're so focused on where you're at, you're going to miss out on the improvement. And that's what's the most important thing.
Yeah, no, true. I know it's kind of been an issue lately with a bunch of juniors, maybe they lose their first match, they go back draw and they see they're playing someone in the back draw they're higher than, and then they drop out and don't play the match. And like, that's not the right play, right?
In fact, I'll tell you that's one of the things I look for, Dylan, because I love players that want to compete. And I love players that don't care who they're playing. And if you're constantly withdrawing from tournaments time after time, everybody gets an injury. Everybody sometimes has a 7-5 in the third and they just can't go the next match because they only got a half hour, 45 minutes. But if you're constantly withdrawing from injury, that's telling me that you're not a competitor. And that's one of the things that we're looking for is for people that, love to compete.
My next question I was going to ask, because now that there's this UTR match play or USTA match play or USTA tournaments, does it matter so much what kids are playing?
No, I don't think so. I think find the tournament that's the best available for you and your level. If you're a 7 UTR, get involved in a tournament that's got a bunch of 6 through 8 players, right? You don't want to be a 6 UTR and jump into a tournament that's got nothing but 9 through 10. That's not going to be that great of an experience. It can be a good challenge, and you want to love those opportunities that you have, but get involved in a tournament where you can see yourself progress and moving in the right direction. I think no matter what it is, any opportunity that you have a chance to play is a good thing.
If a kid wants to play college tennis, what would you recommend they do to prepare to play college tennis and be successful on any of the team that they're on?
I've become the best player that you can be. College tennis, without a doubt, Dylan, is a step up from high school tennis. And I think players need to understand, and they need to realize that college tennis is definitely a step up. So to actually have that aspiration of playing at a higher level after high school is a great thing. If you love it and you want to play it, there should be a school out there and available for you where you can play if you do play at the high varsity level. Some schools and some levels are at a higher level. We're not at the same level at the University of Minnesota. If you're a top player in the state and you have aspirations of playing Division I tennis, I think that's great. Awesome. That's an unbelievable experience. But a lot of players set their aspirations on what level you're playing at, and not necessarily where you can have the best experience making a difference on a team. So I would really recommend not being so caught up on saying, I have to be a Division I tennis player, because Division II, NAIA, D3 is in all incredibly high levels where you can make a difference and you can continue to have that experience that you had, and it can really have an impact on the rest of your life.
Yeah, for sure. I know I had an awesome time when I was playing at Hamlin, and I had so much fun being able to play. I know my first 2 years.
Do we want to bring up your match against Bethel your senior year?
Oh, that was a little rough. That didn't go very well for me. That did not go well for me. But it was a lot more fun the last 2 years where I actually got to play in the lineup. It was much more enjoyable than the first two.
Dylan, and if I can just say to the students that listen to you, you're a perfect example of what that's like. To see that progression of somebody to go to a Division III school and to put the time in. I don't know if your players understand the time and the effort, and most of all the improvement that you put into your game from not even playing to becoming a number one singles player in the MIAC is a big deal. And you did that, and you competed, and it had a hard time. I'll give you a hard time because we got I think Matt got your number that day, but it was good.
Yeah, Matt had my number that day. That is for sure. To talk a little bit more about the college tennis, how many days a week do you think does your typical kid hit, like when they're in high school? Like how many days a week were they hitting leading up to being before college tennis, and maybe how many tournaments a year do you think they're playing about?
Boy, there's a wide variety and a wide range of that, Dylan. Some players are focused just on tennis, and that's all they do from the time that they're 8 years old, and they're playing 6 days a week, 7 hours a day, and they're kind of the court rats, and that's great. But I like if there's another outlet where you can do other things as well. I love 3-sport athletes that are in high school that play multiple sports. Maybe they're a girls player that are playing tennis in the fall and they're playing softball in the spring. And then in the summertime, I'm more geared up to be able to play more tournaments in the summertime. I think that's a great thing. I think a lot of our student athletes are missing out on those opportunities. And that way, I think it's a good thing too, because then when you get to college and you're focusing on one sport, you have that more passion and that desire to improve. But that's a good, I would say that there's no right answer to that. I would say whatever answer is right for you, where you're growing in your development and you're really, really enjoying it. Sometimes the best way we can improve is by taking a little bit of time off. You're not going to improve with time off, but sometimes you can improve more when you get back at it because you've got that desire to get back and to get at it. So get out and hit as many tennis balls as you can, play as many tournaments as you can, because you're not going to get better without playing. But at the same time, there's got to be some balance to your social life, balance to your tennis life, and different things so that you really are, becoming the holistic person as well.
Yeah, that is great. I know the tournament play is such a big deal just because you can get out there in a one weekend and play 3, 4, 5 tennis matches. And that's just huge. And knowing how to play under pressure is such a big deal because especially in college tennis, there's there's a lot more pressure. Like you said, the intensity of those team matches is a lot higher because everyone is, they're more into everyone on the team is just a more solid player making more balls and all that stuff.
Absolutely.
Last question. Do you have anything else that you want to mention? Like any other good tips about college tennis or anything else to finish off here?
I think I've said it before, but I'd just say it again, Dylan. We love when high school players come out and watch our matches. In fact, I love it if high school players, one of the things that when I talk to recruits is come and watch even a practice, see how the team interacts, see how the team competes, and then also see how the team loves each other and how they support each other. That's a big thing. Come out and watch. College tennis is a blast. I don't know how many of your junior players, I played college tennis, but I had never seen a college tennis match before I was actually, 18, almost 19 years old in my first college match. I wish I would have had that experience going in so I knew what I was getting myself into. So do that. Come out and watch us play. Come to a Bethel Gustavus tennis match. It'll be 3.5 hours of grind, war, fun, getting after it. But at the end of the match, high-fiving and hugging each other and just enjoying each other.
Yeah, for sure. I know I was in the same boat too. I know when I went and played at Hamlin, I had never played a college tennis match. I didn't even know that it was 3 doubles positions and 6 singles positions after, because I know if I would have known I was playing college tennis earlier, I would have focused a lot more on my singles game, as I'd only ever played doubles prior to college. So that was a little tough transition for me there.
Well, that's a great point you just made there, Dylan, is having variety of playing both. I think most often we get the opposite. We get players that have only ever played singles. Doubles is a huge part of college tennis. In fact, I would argue it's the most fun, what our players love the most because of the intensity of it. So really focus on playing both. Some people are better at singles, some people are better at doubles. That's reality. But make sure you're working hard at enjoying both and getting better at both.
Yeah, for sure. And then Drew, thank you so much for hopping on. We really appreciate it. Also, I just wanted to make sure everyone knows that you guys have the ITA July 10th through 12th.
Correct. We're hosting a collegiate series. So if you're a higher level player and you want a chance to compete against other college players, this is an opportunity to do it. In fact, it's an open tournament to anybody. There'll be outstanding players from across the country coming to Bethel July 10 through 12, men's and women's, hopefully singles and doubles. And it should be a great time. And if nothing else, come out and get a chance to watch some of the really, really great players in our region play.
Yeah, for sure. I know I used to always try to play 1 or 2 of the ITAs every summer, even after I graduated from college, just because I knew those were the events where there were always going to be good, solid players I could play against. And it was always fun to compete and kind of see where my level stacked up against everyone. So those are super fun events.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for having me, Dylan. If any player is interested in learning more information about Bethel, you can go on to bethelroyals.com. Click on our tennis page, watch some of our videos, come out and watch our match. Shoot me a text or an email. I'd love to talk to you.
Yes. Awesome. Thanks so much.